One thing has become impossible to ignore for the Baltimore Ravens this season. The offense went far, was competitive, won important games, but failed precisely when it most needed a reliable receiver on the sidelines. This isn't an opinion. It's a pattern that repeated itself game after game. In crucial moments, when defenses congested the middle of the field and forced long passes, there was a lack of someone capable of winning one-on-one, creating space on the sidelines and completely changing the course of a game in a single play. And that's exactly where a conversation that has been gaining momentum behind the scenes in the NFL begins. A conversation that could directly affect the future of the Ravens offense. When we analyze the numbers coldly, they tell a story that fans have been feeling for weeks. Only one wide receiver surpassed the 300-yard mark all season. Zay Flowers, with a solid performance and visible improvement, leads the group with 891 yards. But after him, there is a huge gap. The second most productive receiver has just over 250 yards, and among the team's 4 receiving leaders, 2 are tight ends. This says a lot about the Ravens' offensive identity, but it says even more about their limitations. An offense aspiring to compete in the Super Bowl can't rely so heavily on middle options and short routes, especially in January when the game completely changes. Elite defenses don't allow for complacency. They challenge quarterbacks to throw out, press aggressively, and eliminate the first option. Without a dominant wide receiver on the perimeter, everything becomes more difficult. Offensive plays become predictable, space shrinks, and mistakes become a threat on every play. That's why the need for reinforcement at this position has gone from a secondary debate to a real urgency within the franchise. And it is precisely at this point that a name has begun to circulate strongly in the most respected circles of the league. A name that, just by being mentioned, makes the fan lean towards the screen and imagine possibilities. George Pickens. The wide receiver, currently with the Dallas Cowboys, has been mentioned as a possible target for the Baltimore Ravens, according to information from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. And when a journalist of this caliber puts Ravens and Pickens in the same sentence, it's no coincidence. Pickens isn't just another talented receiver. He's exactly the archetype the Ravens' offense needs. Tall, physical, explosive on the first step, and extremely dangerous on contested passes. He doesn't need much separation to produce because he wins with his body, positioning, and aggression. In other words, he turns difficult passes into positive plays, something that completely changes the behavior of defenses. Imagine, for a moment, the impact of this on the field. With Pickens lined up wide, defenses wouldn't be able to close down the middle as much. The safety would have to respect the deep field. Zay Flowers would have more space to exploit intermediate routes. The tight ends would face less double coverage. And perhaps most importantly, the quarterback would have an escape valve on long third downs, where the offense currently suffers much more than it should. But like every great possibility in the NFL, this story comes with tension. Pickens will be a free agent at the end of the season, but there's a clear expectation that Dallas will try to keep him using the franchise tag. It's the most logical move. Players with his profile are rare, and teams rarely let that kind of talent slip away without a fight. This creates the first major obstacle in the narrative. Even if Baltimore wants him, he might simply not be available. However, the situation isn't as simple as it first appears. The Dallas Cowboys face important financial decisions, several hefty contracts, and a roster that will undergo inevitable adjustments. The franchise tag solves one problem temporarily, but it also creates others. If Pickens receives the tag, its immediate impact on the salary cap will be enormous. And that's where Baltimore enters the conversation again. The Ravens project having around $40 million in salary cap space in 2026. This offers flexibility. This opens doors. This allows them not only to dream, but also to craft real, competitive, and strategically planned offers. Furthermore, Baltimore possesses something that weighs heavily in this type of negotiation: a history of strong culture and a coach known for knowing how to handle intense personalities. John Harbaugh has proven over the years that he can get the best out of players with competitive and emotionally intense profiles, exactly like Pickens. Still, it's important to be honest. It's difficult to imagine Dallas letting this talent go without getting something in return, whether by keeping him or finding a creative solution. This uncertainty is what keeps the story alive. It's what transforms a simple rumor into something concrete. The question of who will play is debated daily on TV shows, podcasts, and in conversations among fans. What if Pickens doesn't come? That's the question that naturally arises when tension reaches its peak. After all, the Ravens can't in any way enter another offseason ignoring this need. Fortunately, they're not without options. The 2026 NFL Draft promises an interesting class of wide receivers with players capable of contributing from their first year. Investing in a young talent would allow them to mold him early within the system and guarantee contractual control for longer. In addition, the free agent market can offer solid alternatives. Experienced names like Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Deebo Samuel, and Jakobi Meyers emerge as possibilities, depending on how their contract situations evolve. Each of them would bring a different kind of impact to the offense, whether with experience, versatility, or explosiveness after the catch. No scenario is perfect, but all are better than simply not acting. The central point of all this is simple. The Ravens have reached a point where small differences define big results. The team is competitive, well-coached, and consistent, but lacks that piece that forces opponents to completely change their strategy. A dominant wide receiver is not a luxury. It's a strategic necessity for anyone who wants to take the next step. Nothing is set in stone. No negotiations have taken place. There's no official announcement. But one thing has become clear throughout this season. Baltimore knows exactly where it hurts, knows exactly what needs to be resolved, and knows it can no longer postpone this conversation. George Pickens' name may or may not become a reality, but the fact that he's already being mentioned shows that the entire league recognizes this gap in the Ravens roster. Now I want to know from you, if Pickens were available, would you make that signing? Do you believe he's the right name to transform Baltimore's offense, or would you prefer to invest in the draft or another veteran? Leave your comments below, because fan opinion weighs heavily in this type of discussion. If you enjoyed this analysis, leave a like to support the channel and subscribe so you don't miss any news about the Ravens, because this offseason promises to be one of the busiest in recent years, and you'll want to be here when the decisions start being made.